Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into something absolutely wild. We're looking at a highly theoretical, but honestly fascinating concept for how we might actually pay for humanity's expansion to the stars. We're talking about the ticket contract. This is envisioned as the central financial engine designed to get settlers off of Earth and, you guessed it, onto Mars. It's just an incredible look at the sheer economics of space colonization.
The core philosophy here is simple, but man, is it demanding. The quote goes, "The ticket system will harness the abilities of prospective Martian settlers, exchange talent and labor for a reasonable lifestyle and transportation to Mars." Getting to Mars, it's not just an engineering problem of rockets and fuel. It's a massive economic puzzle. And this quote perfectly highlights that the currency you need to get there isn't just cold hard cash. It's trading decades of human labor and talent for the ultimate interplanetary payoff.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here are the 4 stages of the settler's journey we're going to cover today. First, the $1 million ticket. Second, the Earth Embassy economy. Third, what your ticket buys. And finally, retiring on the red planet.
All right, jumping right into Section 1, the $1 million ticket.
$1 million. That is the magic number. Every single resident aiming for Mars has to accumulate a staggering $1 million in a specialized travel account. And no, this isn't just a regular checking account you open at your local bank down the street. It's tightly managed by a chartered travel corporation that's heavily regulated by a governing body, which the source refers to as the Confederation. This body oversees the entire mission, making sure that goods and services are provided strictly to the ticket holder.
Now, you might be wondering, couldn't a billionaire just write a massive check and blast off tomorrow? Actually, no way. Billionaires absolutely cannot bypass the system. Time at what is called the Earth Embassy is strictly mandatory. You literally cannot buy your way out of the work. You have to spend significant time on the ground at this embassy, both to undergo intense training for space and Mars, and crucially, to integrate into the highly specialized community of the mission. So yeah, no fast passes allowed here.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the timeline required to hit that $1 million mark. It's going to take anywhere from 8 to 26 years of dedicated labor to accumulate these funds. Depending on a resident's pay rate and skill level, they're committing to at least a decade, maybe even pushing 3 decades of focused work. But the beauty of this wide timeline is that it ensures everyone, even the lowest paid members of the Earth Embassy, can eventually earn their way to Mars. It levels the playing field.
Moving on to Section 2. The Earth Embassy economy. The level of extreme financial dedication required here is just mind-boggling. Get this, the Confederation can negotiate the right to withhold up to 80% of an employee's paycheck for direct deposit into their ticket account. 80%! You are living on a tiny fraction of your actual earnings. The rest of your ticket price is supplemented by the returns earned on those massive, heavily regulated withholdings over those 8 to 26 years.
So the crucial point here is how the wider macroeconomy functions inside this closed system. The mission actually requires residents to surrender their Earth money, what we call hard currency. Let's say a resident from Europe joins up with 100,000 euros. They hand that over to the Confederation, and in exchange, they get $100,000 in internal Confederation script. This script is basically what you use to buy your coffee, your clothes, and just live your daily life at the Earth Embassy, and eventually on Mars. Meanwhile, the Confederation takes your 100,000 euros and uses it externally to buy the raw materials and food from the outside world that the mission desperately needs.
But what are you actually doing with those raw materials the Confederation is buying? Well, your job as a resident is to build the mission itself. You're processing raw materials to manufacture literally everything the community needs. We're talking about building everyday items from scratch, furniture, silverware, you name it. But it scales all the way up to constructing the highly sophisticated transport spacecraft that will eventually take you to the red planet. That's right, you are literally building the very ship you're going to fly on.
All right, let's get to the fun part. Section 3, what your ticket buys. And this brilliantly illustrates the chronological progression of what that $1 million contract actually covers. It handles every single phase of your new life. During your time on Earth, it secures your Earth Embassy home, built to strict Confederation standards, and provides your food allotments. Then it buys your passage into space and that long transit to Mars. And upon arrival, it's already secured your Martian home, again, strictly standardized for safety and space.
But the absolute crowning jewel of this entire contract is this: the right to claim a parcel of land up to 1,000 acres in size on any unclaimed Martian real estate. Take a second to process the sheer scale of that land grant. You are trading your labor on Earth to become a massive landowner, an absolute pioneer on an entirely new world. That is the true, unparalleled payoff of the ticket contract.
Now, the creators of this system also built in a really brilliant psychological safety net, an optional round-trip ticket. They know the reality of space travel means settlers might feel stranded, or, they might simply want to see their Earth-bound loved ones one last time. So if desired, the ticket actually covers a trip back to Earth. It guarantees that after having a real Martian experience, you always have the option to abandon the dream and return, or at the very least, just visit home.
Which brings us to Section 4, retiring on the Red Planet.
On top of that staggering 80% ticket withholding we discussed earlier, an additional 10% of a resident's salary is mandatorily withheld into a retirement account. It functions incredibly similarly to Social Security in the United States or comparable programs in other nations. Basically, it guarantees a source of retirement income for when you are finally done working on the Martian frontier.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because these retirement funds are strictly locked. They cannot be withdrawn until you actually retire on Mars. As the owner, you get a small choice in how it's invested, usually choosing between 3 or 4 diverse mutual fund type accounts or fixed income accounts. But here is the genius part. That massive collective pool of retirement capital amassed by everyone is invested right back into the corporations at the Earth Embassy. Your future retirement savings are actively sustaining the construction of the spacecraft and all the technological advancements happening right now. It is a perfectly closed, self-sustaining financial loop.
And that brings us to the end of our journey today in this explainer. We've examined the intense financial mechanics, the daily grind of manufacturing your own transport, the crazy 80% withholdings, and decades of mandatory labor. But we've also seen the staggering rewards, right? A complete life support package, an optional safety net to return home, and a 1,000-acre estate on a brand new frontier. It is an economic framework unlike anything else in human history. So, keeping all of this in mind, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Would you trade up to 26 years of your labor for 1,000 acres on Mars?